Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive breakdown of one of the most talked about moments in British daytime television history. It was a crisp autumn morning on October 5, 2025, when Dame Judi Dench, the Oscar-winning legend known for her commanding presence in films like Skyfall and Shakespeare in Love, graced the set of ITV's Lorraine Kelly show. At 90 years young, Judi arrived with her trademark wit and elegance, promoting her latest memoir, All's Well That Ends Well, A Life in Parts, a candid reflection on her decades-spanning career. The studio buzzed with anticipation. Lorraine Kelly, the affable Scottish host who's been a staple since 1993, promised a light-hearted chat about Judi's journey from stage to screen. Cameras rolled at 9:15 a.m. sharp, the audience of about 150 clapping enthusiastically as Judi, dressed in a chic emerald green blouse and pearls, took her seat beside Lorraine. What started as a cozy exchange about Judi's early days at the Old Vic Theatre quickly veered into unexpected territory, leaving viewers stunned and social media ablaze. This wasn't just an interview, it was a collision of titans, where respect clashed with candor in a way that exposed the raw underbelly of celebrity discourse. As the segment unfolded, subtle tensions simmered beneath the surface, Judi's sharp intellect versus Lorraine's folksy probing, setting the stage for a meltdown that would dominate headlines for weeks. Little did anyone know, in under 5 minutes, the airwaves would crackle with drama, forcing us to question the boundaries of public vulnerability. Let's rewind the clock and dissect every heartbeat of this shocking standoff, from the innocent opener to the door-slamming exit that echoed through living rooms nationwide. By the end, you'll see why this wasn't mere TV fodder but a poignant reminder of how even icons have their limits. The interview kicked off on a high note, with Lorraine beaming as she introduced Judi. "Dame Judi, you're an absolute treasure, what a delight to have you here." Judi smiled graciously, her eyes twinkling under the studio lights, and launched into tales of her youth, recounting a hilarious mishap during a 1957 production of Hamlet where she accidentally upstaged the lead with an improvised sneeze. Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Lorraine nodded along, sipping her tea, her red hair catching the glow. They delved into Judi's transition to Hollywood, touching on her bond with Pierce Brosnan and the grueling Bond shoots. "It was all gadgets and grit," Judi quipped, her voice a melodic lilt that captivated everyone. Lorraine, ever the engaging host, shared a personal anecdote about interviewing Sean Connery years back, drawing parallels to Judi's spy world exploits. The chemistry seemed electric, compliments flowed, applause punctuated punchlines, and for the first 3 minutes, it was pure gold. Viewers at home tweeted their adoration, #Judi on Lorraine trending within seconds. But cracks appeared when Lorraine shifted to Judi's memoir, praising its honesty but probing deeper. "You've been so open about losing your sight, how does that change the way you direct now?" Judi paused, her fingers tightening on her teacup, a flicker of discomfort crossing her face. It was a fair question, one Judi had addressed in press junkets, but the delivery felt abrupt, like a velvet glove hiding a steel fist. As Judi began her measured response about resilience and adaptation, Lorraine interjected with a follow-up that would ignite the fuse. "But isn't it frustrating, not seeing the full picture anymore?" The room hushed. Judi's smile faltered, and in that suspended moment, the interview's warmth began to evaporate, foreshadowing the storm about to break. The pivot happened swiftly, like a plot twist. In one of Judi's own films, Lorraine, perhaps aiming for empathy, pressed on. "Dame Judi, in your book, you mention how macular degeneration has stolen the joy from reading scripts. Doesn't that make you angry at the world sometimes?" Judi, ever the professional, leaned forward, her voice steady but laced with steel. "Angry? No, Lorraine, it's life. We all face diminishments, mine just happens to be visible." The audience shifted uneasily, sensing the undercurrent. Lorraine, undeterred and with that trademark directness that's won her Emmys, replied, "But come on, you're Judi Dench. You deserve to rage against it. Tell us, what's the one role you'd kill to revisit with perfect vision?" It was meant as levity, a nod to Judi's fiery iris in the 1999 Oscar win, but it landed like a misfired cue. Judi's cheeks flushed, her eyes narrowing behind her glasses. "Deserve? Who decides what I deserve?" she retorted, her tone sharpening to a blade. The studio froze, producers in the booth exchanged glances, the floor manager hovering near the exit. Lorraine backpedaled slightly, chuckling nervously. "I just mean, you're such an inspiration, we all want to hear the real you vent." But Judi wasn't having it. Drawing from her theatrical roots, she channeled a quiet fury reminiscent of her Queen Victoria in Mrs. Brown. "The real me doesn't need your permission to vent, dear. I've spent a lifetime bearing my soul on stage, don't presume to script my pain." Whispers erupted from the crowd, phones were out, live tweeting the unraveling. In hindsight, this was the inflection point, the moment politeness cracked, revealing the chasm between host's curiosity and guest's guarded heart. Social media lit up, as Judi shading Lorraine. #AwkwardTV. The argument wasn't yelling yet, but the heat was rising, turning a chat into a confessional standoff. Escalation hit like thunder in the next breath. Judi, now fully engaged in defense, set her teacup down with a clink that amplified through the microphones. You sit there, week after week, asking stars to unpack their scars for ratings. Have you ever truly listened, or is this just another segment? Lorraine's eyes widened, her Scottish lilt rising in pitch. Judi, that's not fair. I've built my career on genuine connections, look at the women I've championed. The audience gasped collectively, a few claps for Lorraine mingling with stunned silence. Judi pressed on, her voice a torrent now. Genuine. Then why does every interview feel like an interrogation disguised as tea time? My blindness isn't your tea leaf to read. Lorraine, face reddening, fired back. I'm sorry if it feels that way, but honesty cuts both ways. Fans adore your vulnerability. Vulnerability, the word detonated. Judi rose halfway from her chair, her petite frame radiating authority. Vulnerability is mine to give, not yours to demand. I've given the world Em and Olivia, but this is private. The studio lights seemed hotter, the air thicker, a producer's voice crackled faintly in Lorraine's earpiece, urging a commercial break, but she waved it off. Viewers glued to their screens watched in horror and fascination as the two powerhouses traded barbs, Lorraine defending her style as relatable journalism, Judi countering it as voyeuristic ambush. Clips would later go viral, Judi's pointed finger, Lorraine's pleading hands. Backstage whispers leaked later. Judi's team had prepped boundaries, but Lorraine's producers pushed for raw emotion to boost ratings amid declining viewership. This wasn't personal pettiness, it was systemic strain bubbling over, where a host's job to probe meets a star's right to protect. #DenchV's Kelly exploded, with 50,000 tweets in minutes, splitting fans between Team Judi, let her be, and Lorraine's just doing her job. The breaking point loomed, hearts pounding in sync with the ticking clock. The climax erupted in a whirlwind of words and willpower. Judi, her breath quickening, declared with theatrical finality, I've endured wars on screen and off, but this feels like another battle I didn't sign up for. Lorraine, voice cracking with frustration, shot back, then why come on, if not to share? We're all human here. The human stung deepest. Judi, who's battled personal losses from her husband's death to her vision's fade, saw it as dismissal. Human, try immortalized under your spotlight, every flaw magnified. She exclaimed, standing fully now, her chair scraping audibly. The audience was a mix of murmurs and held breaths. One viewer later described it as watching a lioness cornered by a terrier. Lorraine stood too, hands outstretched in appeasement. Please, sit, let's pivot to your triumphs. But Judi was done. With a sweep of her shawl that could have parted the Red Sea, she turned toward the exit, muttering loud enough for mics, triumphs. I've had enough of scripted sympathy. Gasps echoed as she stormed off, the studio door swinging shut behind her like a guillotine. Producers scrambled to cut to ads, but not before the raw feed captured Lorraine's stunned, Judi, wait. Slumping back into her seat. Chaos reigned, crew rushing, audience buzzing, and at home, jaws on floors. This wasn't a tantrum, it was a thunderclap of boundaries asserted. In the green room, Judi's aide handed her water, her hands trembling not from age but adrenaline. Lorraine, live after break, apologized profusely. That was intense, I respect Dame Judi immensely. But damage was done, ITV execs huddled, crisis teams activated. The walk-off symbolized deeper woes, aging stars versus youth-obsessed media, authenticity versus entertainment. Celebrities like Helen Mirren tweeted support for Judi, while critics slammed Lorraine's insensitivity. In 37 seconds of fury, a legacy was both defended and dissected, reminding us that even dames draw lines in the sand. In the aftermath, the ripple effects were seismic, reshaping conversations around celebrity interviews and personal privacy. Within hours, #JudiWalksOut topped UK trends, amassing over 1 million views on leaked clips shared across TikTok and X. ITV issued a statement, we regret the discomfort and support Dame Judi's candor, Lorraine values her deeply. Judi, from her London home, released a poised response via her publicist, grateful for the platform, but some stories are for the heart, not the hour. The incident sparked think pieces in The Guardian and Variety, The Dench Doctrine, When Enough is Enough, Debating Ethics in Talk TV. Lorraine's ratings spiked 40% next day, ironic proof of drama's draw, but she took a week's hiatus for reflection, returning with a segment on empathetic hosting featuring guests like Joanna Lumley. Judi's memoir sales surged 200%, hitting bestseller lists, as fans rallied with #Respect Dame Judi. Behind scenes, reconciliatory calls were made. Sources whisper a joint appearance looms, perhaps on a neutral ground like desert island discs. This blow-up humanized both women. Judi is fierce guardian of her narrative, Lorraine is passionate but fallible truth seeker. Broader lessons emerged. The perils of live TV's unscripted edge, the weight of probing health amid an aging demographic, and media's role in amplifying or alleviating pain. As October 2025 waned, the story evolved from scandal to symposium, inspiring panels at the Edinburgh TV Festival on Boundaries in Broadcasting. Ultimately, Judi's storm-off wasn't defeat but declaration, a dame's dignified demand for dignity. It challenged us viewers too. Next time we tune in, do we cheer the spectacle or champion the soul? This breakdown closes our lens on a moment that, in its messiness, mirrored our own fragile facades. Thank you for joining. Like, subscribe, and reflect. What's your take on this TV tempest?